Legally in Love, written and narrated by C. Taylor, edited to meet YouTube guidelines. To purchase the unedited book, please click the link in the description. Chapter 14a. From Emma's perspective, Luke came running for them when they walked in the garage door. John got the honors of being his preferred grown-up of the two, and he bent down to pick Luke up. "I'm so sorry we're late. I hope we didn't mess up any plans." Emma stopped when she saw Kim in the front room. Both girls looked slightly disheveled. Emma's eyes got big and shot to Kim. Kim's face immediately turned red, and she looked around. Emma kissed Luke on the cheek as John was holding him and caught Kim's hand to pull her into a private chat. "Are you and Jan seeing each other?" Emma was starting to get so excited she was about to run in place. "Emma, I'm so sorry. We started talking at the Renaissance Fair, went out to dinner together with the gift card she gave us, then went to the Renaissance Fair again, and now we can't keep our hands off each other." "This is so unprofessional. I swear Luke was safe. You were a little late and Jan already arrived. We were going to meet downstairs in my apartment, but you weren't home yet," she explained in a panicked rush. Emma held back her excitement to calm Kim's anxiety. "I'm so sorry we put you in that situation. We should have been home on time or at least called. It was a last minute, thing and won't happen again, I promise." She waited until Kim's panic calmed down, then started running in place for her friend. "I can't believe you and Jan. If I had any idea you would have liked each other, I would have gotten you together long ago. You two make such a gorgeous couple." "I know." Kim started laughing and jumping with Emma. "Jan, get in here. I'm so excited for you guys." Jan looked shocked. She was always very reserved. Kim was very free-spirited. The fact that they were together surprised Emma, but if her two friends were happy, she was thrilled. Jan awkwardly joined the jumping duo, and they finally ended in a group hug. "I'm so happy for you guys." At this point, John cleared his throat. Emma looked over her shoulder at John, who was giving her a "you can't promise that" look at her. Emma winked at him. "John agrees. We won't interfere with your off time now that you have priority starting at 6 sharp, unless we give prior notice and get approval." Kim laughed. "That reminds me, I talked with David and Declan's caseworker. She can bring them by tomorrow if that works." Emma turned to John. "Would that be okay?" They'd been working on getting the boys out to finish their painting for days. Since Kim now had an after-hours life, John would need to be the qualifying supervisor. "Oh, no, I want to be here for it." Kim started, but Jan's elbow interrupted. We've been super curious to see what they'll paint. Is it okay if we stay?" Emma liked the idea. "We could make it a barbecue night," she offered. John smiled. "Maybe I should invite Christian and Andi so it's more like a get-together instead of us all gawking at them painting." Emma winced. "Yeah, no gawking. Maybe invite Trevel and Julie too then. Get the whole Renaissance group back together." "Do you think Peggy would like to join?" Emma looked toward John. Not sure what was happening, John nodded. "I could always ask. Is it okay if we take shifts supervising their work?" "I'd like to see if they stay on task or try to make a break for it when they think our backs are turned." All three said deal at the same time. "In that case, we need to get some supplies for the barbecue." "Sorry again for being late, girls. Have a great night." They both hugged Emma and went downstairs to Kim's apartment. John carried Luke out to his truck and strapped him in his car seat. They drove to the supermarket as Emma organized the shopping list on her phone. Emma never thought shopping in a simple supermarket could be so fun. Walking through the aisles with the love of her life and his amazing son was turning into another of her favorite things. "How do you know what to get when you can't eat anything with your diet so restricted?" John had asked. Emma smiled at the memories. Dad held the most amazing backyard barbecues. He would always have Christian and me do the shopping and prepping work. Christian even helped Dad at the grill. Mom would have insisted the housekeeper do it, but Dad never told Mom what we were doing. "But you couldn't eat any of it." "I could before the, you know, best meals of my life. After, it was still fun to shop." John looked at the cart. "Somehow, I don't think your dad would have cooked hamburgers or hot dogs." Emma smiled. "Yeah, well, Mom insisted we get steaks, but I always love the simple options." "Speaking of budget, are you okay if I add you to my accounts, or did you just want to combine them all?" From John's perspective, oh, finances. He hadn't even thought of them. Wasn't this the thing most couples argue about? He did not like the idea of arguing with her, even for makeup zex. He immediately tensed. "Or we could just leave things as they are and never speak of it again." Emma stopped the cart and looked in again. "Oh, then since this is my idea, I should probably pay for this." I'll pay for it, John mandated. No, since this was my idea, I take full responsibility and will pay. Emma, he was going to put his foot down. John, Emma warned back, standing her ground. Were they fighting? He remembered arguing with her about money she'd given Trevel to watch her car. He had a bad feeling he wouldn't win this fight either if he tried to take her on when it came to money. He knew her to be very generous and insanely protective of him. Problem was, he felt the same way about her. Neither would ever back down if they tried to keep this separate. They would not be able to compromise. There was only one thing he could do. We'll combine all our accounts. Tonight I'll pay since it's all our money anyway. He saw her relax instantly and nod before continuing down the aisle. His lungs could fill with air again. His body throbbed to be with her, to feel her, to know they were okay. Was this what caused the draw to after-fight sex? He would address his urge after Luke was in bed and she was in his. They finished with Emma's list and went to Chuck E. Cheese for dinner. He never had so much fun playing air hockey or whack-a-mole, but he was with the love of his life and his son. He had no idea life could be this good 2 weeks ago. Every day just kept getting better and better. He watched this amazing girl love his son, and his son adore the woman that was his wife. He could see they had a special bond that apparently had existed since soon after his birth. He knew how much she loved children, remembered her telling him she wouldn't survive a pregnancy. Luke potentially would never know Rachel. If any two people deserved to be mother and son, it was these two. Luke had more than enough pizza to get him through the night. By the time they got home, Luke was rubbing his eyes. Bath, book, bed, and she was all his. They were in bed, and he was edited. He was watching her face strain in pleasure. It was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. Her eyes opened, saw him looking at her, and seemed to examine him like he'd just been with her. She rose up to take his lip. He loved the way she clung to him. After the kiss, she kept her forehead against his. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. "I hope so," she whispered back. He was concerned. "Is there something wrong?" Her breath caught when he edited. "Would you be upset if I have more money than you?" He smiled at her. "You're a trust fund baby. I already knew you had more money than me. I just didn't want you to think I married you for your money." She tilted her face and looked up at him. "Technically, you didn't marry me. Christian married us. Even if he didn't, I would never think that." He knew it was true. Even though she was the only daughter of a very wealthy family and he was a rough kid from the wrong side of the tracks, she'd never seen him that way. The morning after he'd rescued her from the college party, she stunned him by telling his then girlfriend he wasn't one of the good guys, he was one of the best. "I wanted to be sure." Her eyes dropped again. He nudged her head up with his forehead. "Anything else?" "It's not just my trust fund." Her voice was softer than the first time. "Okay, how much are we talking about?" "Well, when Christian and Audie started their company, I turned my trust fund over to them. Mother was already paying for my law education, but that's also why I had to find jobs to pay for the books and fees for my side courses." He was still moving, edited, liking the feeling of being connected to her while they talked. This was his favorite conversation ever. "Okay, so where's all the money from?" "I'm equal partner with Christian and Audie in their corporation, or I should say we. We own a third of their company." His rhythm altered slightly. Christian knew this and still had him marry her without a prenup? That realization, Christian trusted him not only with his sister but a third of his company, stunned him. And he took his breath, found his rhythm again, and braced for what was coming next. "And what?" "My books, several have been on the bestsellers list. Movie rights have already been sold for one. Two more are being considered. One of my series is being optioned for a TV series. But science fiction and fantasy isn't as popular as other genres, so it's not as bad as it sounds." That still sounded like a lot. He watched her as she spoke, so much concern in her face that he would be upset by her accomplishments. She was by far the sexiest woman ever. Time to turn things around. "Does it disappoint you that I'm just a lowly lawyer?" That did it. Her face turned from concern to admiration at him. "No, you are an amazing lawyer. Every law firm in the city is scared to come up against you. Your clients know you'll bring them justice. You're a lawyer with integrity, rarest combo in the world." Her admiration was his undoing. Raw need took over, no more words, just desire and edited. It was just them, only them. The next night was about the most enjoyable night he could remember. His brothers were completely enthralled in their painting. He'd never known them to be so content in a non-destructive project. He wasn't sure he was seeing what Emma saw in their painting, but it looked pretty good. Christian was talking to John about grilling, showing him some tips and tricks so next time he would be at the grill. Trevel and Annie Julie, who had also started seeing each other since the fair weekend, were enjoying drinks and talking with the boys. Emma and Andi had the little ones, Chaselyn and Luke, inseparable as usual. Kim and Jan were enjoying time together. Peggy had brought her husband, and they were going through the house since they were in the market for a new house and wanted to get some ideas for a potential fixer-upper. It felt like a family, which was something he'd wanted his whole life. Living this dream just kept getting better. So you not only entrusted me with your sister, but a third of your company? John was still trying to get his head around his and Emma's conversation from the night before. Christian flipped a set of burgers and didn't even flinch. There's no one else I would trust with either, much less both. Thanks, man, I'm honored. I won't let you down with either, he said, committing himself that it be true. I know, Christian said before taking a drink. If you have the temperature right, see the edges of the meat? Once they get crusty, it's time to turn. One of the tricks is to only turn them once. Emma insisted on hamburgers and hot dogs. Apparently, we could have afforded filet mignon and lobster. Both men chuckled, neither surprised by her choice. She's always been very careful with her money. The fact that she turned over her entire trust fund to me without question is a big deal, one a brother doesn't forget. I saw her take some really hard jobs because of it to pay for her own extra education. She consulted with Andi during the early days of our company. The two of them can make magic happen with even the smallest budget. Have you set up your joint finances and household budget yet? That was going to be this weekend's project, John informed him. Christian's side looked at John and half smiled. Need us to take Luke again? Another weekend with Emma, talking about budgets between the sheets? Don't tempt me. Christian chuckled. Since Andi is a financial genius, how about all three of you spend the weekend at our place? You can have the guest house. We'll have the legal paperwork prepared to add you as a partner, and we'll have Keith there to finalize Emma's promotional tour. Working weekend at Christian's house. He was being pulled into being part of a family he thought he would just watch from the outside. Was this actually happening? Before I answer, I should ask Emma. Christian smiled, confirming John gave a good answer. Married only a little more than 1 week, and you already know the drill. He motioned for Andi to come to him. Emma followed with Luke. The moment Emma was close enough, John pulled her into a deep kiss. Luke lunged to him, and John took him in one arm while keeping the second one around Emma. By the time they turned to the other couple, they found Christian and Andi mirroring them exactly. Christian looked at John to deliver the news. Was he testing him? Christian invited us to stay in the guest house over the weekend to help us set up our budget, sign some legal papers, and finalize your tour schedule. We wanted to make sure it was okay with you guys. Andi smiled up at Christian, and they just looked at each other for a few minutes. John suspected they were telepathic. She would just look at him, and a whole conversation was going on. He had watched them do it hundreds of times at the university. He also knew he would never know the full conversation. Emma snuggled closer to John and waited for Andi's answer. John was still trying to process that he was now a part of the Delaney family council. A part of the Delaney family. Emma's husband, Christian, was his legal brother now. I think that would be perfect. Emma, are you free Thursday afternoon to go shopping for weekend supplies? Andi was still looking at Christian as she spoke. It wasn't until she finished the last word that she turned to Emma. Of course. Where and when? The two girls started making plans while taking back the babies. Christian turned back to tending the grill. John watched his wife walk over with Andi to David and Declan. He still wasn't sure what she was seeing. Plus, the boys had a knack for working together, usually with destructive efficiency, but in art, they used the same teamwork and it wasn't destructive at all. Emma had told him they were probably very intelligent and were just bored without any outlet that wasn't destructive due to their father's disinterest and neglect. The twins tended to resent John's interference with their father Charles' authority. Since they hadn't been able to spend much time with John until recently, neither seemed able to respect him yet. Kim was a balance of strong will and understanding that quickly helped them trust her soon after she started working for John. Even working as a team, the twins remained a handful for both of them. In just 2 outings, Emma had engaged them with history at the Renaissance Fair and now with art tonight. Emma had also recommended they be enrolled in a couple of after-school classes. At least one should be a martial arts class. She recommended they all take one of the classes together so the twins could have a sense of family. He put that on the agenda to work out with Emma this weekend. Emma said something to both David and Declan. They both came up and hugged her at the same time. She hugged them back and kissed them on their foreheads. She looked up at John and yelled, "John, is it okay if I run through some of the after-school classes with them to see what they'd like?" Again, she was reading his mind. "That's a great idea," he called back. Declan then excitedly ran and jumped toward Kim to pull her back toward Emma and Andy. Kim looked more and more like she wanted to be alone with Jan, as did Jan. He was pretty sure they would be excusing themselves the moment the painting and dinner were over. "Everyone should come get what they want while the food is hot," Christian called out. The whole group gathered around the food. John started preparing Luke's dinner. Emma put him in the high chair that had been pulled out to the back patio.